If you or a family member have been hurt because of the careless actions of another person, call Walker Texas Lawyer. They'll work to get you the financial compensation and justice you deserve. They have 40 years of experience, and you don't pay unless you win. Call 713-881-9653 today for a consultation or go to walkertexaslawyer.com.
Oh, Brad, what have you done now?
Broadcasting live from Houston, Texas, and around the world. TV host, best-selling author, and radio personality Brad Gilmore brings you a collection of conversations with stars from movies.
Mark Wahlberg.
Hey, how are you?
The legendary Mr. Christopher Lloyd. Christopher, how are we doing?
I'm doing good. Great introduction.
Television.
Jimmy Fallon joins us this morning. Jimmy, how you doing, my friend?
Good morning. Thank you so much, Brad, for having me. I appreciate this, bud.
Kelly Ripa.
Brad, thank you for having me.
Comedy.
Jay Leno joins us. Jay, how you doing?
Hey, Brad, what's going on?
Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias.
Good morning.
Music.
Lola Monroe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
The legendary frontman of AC/DC, Brian Johnson, joins us right now. Brian, how you doing?
Good morning, Brad. What looking to talk, give me funny lad.
Grammy Award winner Maya joins us.
How are you?
And more. This is The Collection. Now your host, The Boat, Brad Gilmore.
And my guest right now joining us at this time, I've known this gentleman for a very long time, been a fan of his for even longer. He has a brand new album coming out on December the 16th called Escape from Houston, and will be performing at the St. Charles Studios along with Kyle Hubbard, Dirty and Nasty, George Young, and hosted by B-Boy Craig, a DJ by Flat Pat, man, the one and only, the mighty D-Risha is here. How's it going, brother?
I'm feeling good, man. It's a good time for all of us to get together, make something happen, do something for the city that's going to be really productive and fun, man. You know, I had to do something. What's up? Yeah.
Yeah, let's just start, though, on the top, because when was the last time you dropped a project? What year?
2013 or 14, I believe.
So from 2013 to 14, we're talking about a decade gap, just about. Yeah. What's been going on in D-Risha's world, and why was now the time you wanted to come back and do something?
Okay, so between that gap, I had my daughter, I got married, I just had my son recently, so life has been lifing. But one thing that inspired me was Langston's book that featured the scene. He took a chance on us, and he let us know that, hey, this was important. This wasn't something that go in vain. It wasn't a vanity thing. It was a hobby. This was something that's just important as the DJ Screws and Swisher Houses of the scene. Because, like, the underground to us is the main event, which you're very aware of. You know, we get together, we camaraderie, we put on shows, we learn how to do this, do that. And, man, he inspired me to be like, hey, man, I need one more go. I made a pinky promise to my daughter. I was like, hey, I promise I'm going to do a show with you. You can come, So it's a reunion in a lot of ways, man. You know, my dad never got to see me perform. So I was like, hey, Kayla, you coming out. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I'm very, very excited for this night.
So you're talking about Langston Colin Wilkins, who we had on the show, his book, Welcome to Houston, really detailed that. I'd say probably 2010 to 2013 was really the meat of the scene as it was referred to back then. And this was the resurgence of Houston hip hop in a lot of ways, with a lot of great quote unquote underground acts, some of which we've already mentioned, including yourself. Others could be Fat Tony, The Aspiring Me, Doe Beezy, all the Head Wreckers crew that was there at the time. And there was this great resurgence of hip hop. If you can do your best to transport yourself back to those times, you know, what sticks out to you and what do you remember most about the underground Houston hip hop world at the time?
The one thing that sticks out the most is community. So there were so many things going on at one time, it was hard to keep track of. Okay, you had Turning Heads on a Thursday. You had a Lunar Face show on a Friday. You had Kickback Sundays on Sunday. These are three different groups put on by three different types of people, and we all coalesced to, hey, what are you doing? Hey, what's going on? What's going on Friday? Oh, hey, I got an event here. I got this here. I got this there. Like every week there was something going on, and we were all invited, and we all pitched in to, oh, you coming? What can I help out with? Can you DJ? Can you MC? Can you tag? Can you It was an amazing time for all of us, man. We all benefited from that. The press was involved. I would reach out to Brandon, like, "Hey, Brandon, I'm playing with Action Bronson on Friday. You want to come? I got you. Come on." You know what I'm saying? Like it was definitely a group effort. That's the best way I can describe that time.
What was weird too, D, and tell me if you agree with this or not, but it seemed as though around the time you stopped in
Yeah,
2013, 2014, the scene overall kind of came to not a halt, but it slowed down significantly, where it was
yes,
so prosperous for a 3 or 4 year run, where there were five, six, seven shows a week, and you could
yeah,
see everybody play all the time, and finding a show to perform at wasn't a problem. To there was it was scarce out there. There weren't a lot of people coming out with projects, or at least the people in what I'd call our quote unquote class of people in the hip hop world at the time. Why do you think that is? Why do you think it slowed down?
So, in my personal opinion, I think that the venues that housed underground hip hop either went away or stopped. So, the access to be able to put on a show of that magnitude got very difficult. Reaching out to those same people or not being able to reach out to those people became extremely hard or non-existent. And I can only speak for myself and say that I started my family, but everybody else was having similar difficulty. I would check online and I'd see a post from somebody like, "Man, it's really hard to get a venue these days." I'm like, "Man, what happened?" And I would say a hub for us was Fitzgerald's.
Yeah.
That was a hub where a lot of our shows were funneled through, and that going away, that was a huge direct hit to what we had going on. And putting myself in the seat of a promoter, of a show organizer, man, this process has been it was hard to find something to facilitate this, but well worth it. But if I had a hard time and I have all these resources that I had at my disposal, just think how hard it is for somebody else who just coming into it or seeing it like, oh, it's a little scary. You know what I'm saying? So that
I
was a
also think part of it could have been the influx at the time of social media, because when we first started, it was Twitter was a big thing.
yeah,
Instagram kind of started bubbling up a little bit, and it was being used more, but Twitter was our main. This is where, for lack of a better term, it was a virtual barbershop in a lot of
right.
ways, where we would talk about the new releases, we'd hit each other back with stuff, we would critique each other's stuff, we'd promote each other's stuff, we'd get into the hip hop debates as a takeover or ether. We'd have all these kind of conversations in Twitter, but then I think as Instagram and SoundClick and YouTube and all these other things started to really take off, and
Yeah.
SoundCloud, you started to see maybe that scene go more behind the keyboard than live and in living color. Do you think that was part of it?
I think the lack of integration. So I mentioned the camaraderie, like we were all seeing each other face to face. So during this era, what has changed is I'm just gonna do a TikTok, I'm gonna do an Instagram, I'm gonna promote it that way versus I'm gonna go make these flyers and pass them out at this event that's going on Wednesday to get ready for the show on Friday. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think the okay, like I'll do a quick comparison. Like when I was younger, I had to go out and get a number and had to write it down with a pen and pencil versus I guess they have a lot of dating apps. That's the best comparison I could try to find. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying. And yeah, definitely there was a transformation of the way that everyone interacted with each other, and through that matter, the way that the fans and the consumers interacted with the artist and the music. I mean, I think a lot of people were just as content to see your latest TikTok than back in the day, where it was like, no, we got to go see him live. Like live
Yes,
is
we
where
gotta
you
go
see
get
it,
live.
and
Yes.
that has definitely shifted. Now, let me ask you this though:
Okay.
we had this prosperous scene. Okay, as you said, life started lifing, to use your
Mm-hmm.
term
Yeah.
analogy. And Langston has the book drop. You get the spark of creativity to do
Yeah.
something, and it's now Escape from Houston, Texas. I
Yeah.
listened to the album.
Okay.
What's crazy to me is, although I hear maturity,
Yes.
as far as, because you're a different person than you were a decade ago. I mean, it'd be the same. It'd be the shame if you were the same.
No,
But
correct.
I hear maturity, but I also don't hear, and this is probably the best thing that, or one of the things you'll like to hear. I don't hear any ring rust, for lack of a better term.
You
Did
know
you
what?
feel that? What was the experience picking the pin up again?
So after my dad passed, I met my wife and I introduced her to my music. One thing she did, she was relentless in a sense where she made me practice, practice, practice. I'm talking about going over one song 50 times. Like when I invited her into my world, she was like, hey, there's some things we could fix, there's some things we could tighten up. You got to have a good woman by your side to kind of like tell you the truth. She hears some things like, yeah, I'm not rocking with that. Then the other things like, hey, we can get better on this. So I'm going to give her the credit she deserves in a sense where versus me just going to the studio and recording, she's like, nah, we're going to practice until you got it to memory. And this was a stringent, like it was like it was a boot camp. It was like rap camp. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So all these new songs I recorded, I don't know if you could hear it, my delivery is better. I'm riding the beat. My voice isn't so high. These little things, I would say it's my best recorded music to date. Even though, you know, all the things that we had in place led the music to get heightened by the press and Chase Serrano was around. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I could say me practicing led my music today at this current time to be the best I've ever had.
So I'm trying to. I want to make sure I get the name of the record right, and I'm trying to
Okay,
make sure I have the exact name of the song that I'm. Yeah, Back to It. It's the first song on the album.
back to
Okay,
his first
Back
song.
to It.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to ask why. I understand conceptually why that would lead off on the album, but when I hear that beat and then I hear the way that you approached it from a flow perspective,
Yeah.
it's very it's an artistic style that you took to that, in my
Right.
opinion, because the way
Yeah.
you rode the beat was so different, and you found a pocket, in my opinion, that was really interesting and different to listen to. And when I think of it from an MC's approach, it's not the pocket I would have found, right? So can you
Right.
talk to me about Back to It and your approach to that one, knowing that this is going to be the first song people hear in nearly a decade?
Okay, so check it. 2014. Oh, after my dad passed away, me and my wife took a vacation. I had passes to A3C because I got invited to A3C in 2014 as an artist. That
Big
experience
Atlanta Hip Hop Festival.
in the Atlanta Hip Hop Festival A3C, I got invited as an artist. The high that I was on from that weekend, I got to see Scarface and The Roots and Pharoah Monch and Ninth Wonder. The whole weekend, we just went everywhere we wanted. The high from that event, that was the first song I recorded when I got back to Houston.
No way.
Yes, that's the first song I recorded. That's when I was telling you before. She put me on rap camp. Like, hey, that's the first song I recorded. She's like, yo, if we're gonna start here, we're gonna do it different. We're gonna hit the gym hard. We're gonna do our calisthenics. We're gonna get our reps. That's the first song I recorded when I got back to Houston from A3C. It was an amazing experience. I'll never forget it. It was an amazing experience, man.
That's awesome. Now let me ask you this: as far as your MC style,
Hmm.
a lot of times when my group 2011 would get together, I'd be sitting with the producer and I'd say, "Hey, I want a song that sounds like this and this." Like
Hmm.
two comparisons, so he could start getting an idea of what I was thinking. If I
Yeah.
had to say, or if you had to say, D-Risha is a kind of a combination of this rapper and this rapper. If you had to
Okay.
pick two who were kind of your main influences, who would you say those two would be?
Okay, I got it. D-Risha is a mix of Lil Kiki and Elzhi.
Okay, explain how.
From so Lil Kiki, Don't Mess with Texas. That's one of my favorite albums of all time. Even though I am from the North Side, Acres Home, Fofo, you know what I'm saying? That album influenced me and has such an impact on me. It's one of the greatest Houston albums of all time to me. And I took that influence, his flow, his pocket, which you could hear on Mechanics and Ebonics. So I have to keep that as a note in my palette. Also, with Elzai, the traditional hip hop influence. That's the first note I go to. But in order for me to survive in the Houston music scene, I had to have both.
Mm-hmm.
I had to I had to give them the traditional hip hop. That's what, that's what I was raised in. But hey, I can't just do that alone. I have to give them where I'm from, the culture, the slang, the slab. I have to give them all that. And those two things encompass me, D-Risha, as an artist totally.
So
So,
when you say the old school hip hop or the traditional hip hop,
mhm,
what do you mean exactly? Do you mean like 80s boom bap, like KRS-One, Boogie Down
yes.
production style? Okay.
I mean, like the four elements, like the B-boy and MC and D, like those four elements, the KRS ones, Nas, DJ Premier, who's also from Houston. A lot of people
Yeah.
like to forget that. That's my first note, in which I always have to put in my music at all times. But as I did in the interview with Langston, I was like, hey man, I gotta give him a pill. I have to give him something to take it all in. I can't just give him all that because there's a very small amount of people that are gonna accept it fully. To broaden my landscape, I have to give them what we have to offer from the city and what I have to offer in my influence with traditional hip hop.
When I think about putting together an album, sometimes I use the metaphor of it's like Starbucks, right? People go to
Okay.
Starbucks to get a cup of coffee, but when they're there, they might grab a banana, they might grab a CD that's on the rack. Maybe you get a gift card. I'd also like a
Yeah.
tea to go with that. Give me a little croissant. Can you warm it up, please? And like when you go for the coffee, but all of a sudden you got all these like other little things that you bought while you're in there. And to me, that's what encompasses a good album. They're coming for the
Yeah.
bars. They're coming for maybe the Houston style that they know D-Risha to bring, but also
Yes.
have this, as you put it, traditional elements to it, the four elements, and bringing the lyricism, which is, I think, one
Right.
thing that set you apart from a lot of your contemporaries at the time. Um, you seem to think of things, uh, and I know it sounds, I don't know, counterintuitive because you would think a rapper would always think about his words, but I feel like you really put into your lyrics more than, hey, that was a dope bar. I think you
Yes.
put into that was a dope message. Would you agree with
Right.
that?
Yes, because when I started listening to hip hop, the thing that caught me the most is whenever I heard a line, I would pop. Like which you're familiar with in wrestling, they have a term called the pop.
Yeah.
When Austin 316 comes out, you hear the glass shatter, they pop. So when I'm hearing a lyricist, he's gonna say things that, whoa, like I have to keep that in mind. I have to keep you engaged. Because most everybody who listens to hip hop or music in general, they're gonna hear the beat. They're gonna hear the beat. It's a good beat. Then later, the second note, well, what is he saying? You know what I'm saying? So I try to encompass, hey, well, I got to make sure the production is on point at all times. Whether it's southern or hip hop influence, the beats got to knock. Also, I'm giving you the words, the lyrics, the punchlines, the message, a story. Hopefully you get to it first, you can get to it later, but it's all there. That's, I'm cooking up the gumbo. I put the sausage, I put the shrimp, it's all in there. Once you get the taste, the seasoning, you're gonna get it. Oh wow, that's pretty good. Look, that's my goal. Like the gumbo, you know what I'm saying? I gotta
Yeah.
have it all in there. Like I mean, I could get a rice cooker real quick, make some 15-minute rice. That'll be that. But if I'm putting it all together, all right, man, what's the plan of attack? What's the best way I can get their ears? The best way I can make it engaging. That's hip hop to me. You know what I mean?
It is funny you say the pop, right? The
Yeah.
lines that would pop you. I used to call them the make me quit lyrics, right?
Yeah.
Like when you hear somebody say something, you're like, man, I can't come up with that. I'm stopping. It's over. I remember Eminem said one time uh, something like, "I'll invite him in like I'm one a day," and I remember
Yeah.
going, "Damn,
Ooh.
that's good
It makes you
wordplay." Like
get that
that's
stank
like,
face. Yeah, my friend calls it a face melter. When I, because he goes to a lot of rock shows and he would hear my music like, ooh, that's a face melter. I'm like, okay, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
but same thing, same thing. Now,
Right, it's the
you
same
you,
thing.
you selected 10 records to put
Yeah.
on this project,
Hmm.
and when I'm looking at who they're produced by, there's some commonality between them, but no, not one person did everything. Peace of Mind did a
Right.
few. It looks like a lot. You had a few different producers here. D Man, it looks like George Young. Shout out to
Yeah.
George, by the way. Um,
Yeah.
when
What's
it
up,
came
dude?
to selecting these, and you'll appreciate this as a hip hop fan, like Jay Z's Blueprint, I think they recorded 14 and 13 made the album or something to that
Yeah.
effect.
Yeah.
How many were recorded and how many were selected? Or were these the 10 that as you did them, you're like, no, these are the best 10 I'm coming up with?
So over time, I would say over these years from 2014 to now, and me having to stop and start, I recorded about 40, 50 records.
Wow.
Yes. And the main thing my wife was telling me, like, hey, like, we can't half step. Pick the 10 best songs. Whatever stuck, it stuck. If it didn't, it had to go. That was the hardest part. I was so used to whatever I recorded, it was going. Which in hindsight, man, I could have done a better job at that. But quality over quantity. That's one lesson I learned doing this. Like, man, it sounds the way it sounds because I picked the 10 best songs I had to offer. The hooks had to be right, the beats had to be right, the verses, everything had to be perfect. Now, when I give the art to God or to you, when I give the art to people, whether they like it or don't, it's theirs now. But I can sit back and say, I'm happy with it. I gave you my absolute best on every front. You know what I mean?
That's something that, I think also comes with maturity as an artist, right?
Yeah.
When you're probably younger, if you put out a record that you thought was really good and people gave a negative feedback to it, you'd be like, what is wrong with you? How could you
Man,
think this
I
is
would
bad?
get so upset. I guess like, man, you don't know. I'm gonna do what I want. So you like I'll get so offensive. It's like because these are your babies. You know what I mean? Like me having kids and being delicate with my children. It's like, man, when you're making something from your heart, from your mind to the page, to the studio, to the stage, like, man, you made that. So who are you to tell me that something I made was bad? You know what I mean? As an artist, giving you an artist perspective. But as I've grown and matured, like, hey, like I have to, you know, be diligent in the creation process to where there's not too much fault. But hey, people are gonna like what they're gonna like. And am I happy with it? Yes. And you just gotta leave it where it is after that.
Now,
You know, I mean,
I don't want you to have to cause any controversy, okay?
okay,
I'll
okay,
say this is my one big journalist question for you. Um,
gotcha.
and I won't go into too much specifics other than you and I had a brief conversation one time through messaging about kind of veteran MCs and their role
Yes.
within the hip hop community, within any given city, whether that be Houston or Atlanta or New York or Los Angeles and the like, Oakland, any of the
Mhm.
hotbeds of hip hop. They all have their OGs, their veterans who've been there. For a lot of us here, Bun B's a pillar. In New York, it
Yeah.
might be Jay, or even further than that, Rakim, and
Mhm.
people of that ilk. If you go to Oakland, it's E42 short. In the West Coast, it's Snoop and Dre and people of that people of those veins. Everyone,
Mhm.
I think, over the years have had different ideas of what being an OG to your community of aspiring MCs is supposed to do and supposed to think and supposed to be,
Yes.
and what respect they're supposed to get and what respect they're supposed to give. What is your take
Right.
on the veterans' role in their given hip hop community? What is the OG's role in your mind?
Okay, so in OG's role, I'm gonna be as clear as I can. It isn't the OG's role to save the world. Let me be clear. They're not obligated to save the world or bring every new artist that comes out. Now, it'd be nice if they nudge the guys along that are worth their weight in gold. That's awesome. That's great. We need that to further it along. And I think in other cities like Snoop embraced Kendrick automatically. He saw something, he embraced it. There's other places that may or may not. Well, he's gonna have to figure it out on his own, which can be good also. Like I think Nipsey Hussle was someone who didn't have Dr. Dre. He didn't have the certain cosigns, but he made it to where he made it on his own. Whereas Kendrick, he got so high where he couldn't be denied. I don't think there's a wrong answer. You know what I mean? I think different artists achieve their success different ways, and the OG influence, it can be nudged along, it can be picked up by the hood or the seat of their pants. Like, hey, you're talented, let's go. Every place is different and every approach can be said. You know what I mean? I think
Now,
it's great.
okay, I like the answer. D-Risha, Escape from Houston, Texas, is
Yes,
going to be on
sir.
December the 16th,
Yes,
as well
sir.
as the release of the album itself. It'll be on all streaming platforms. St. Charles Studios is where it's going to be
Yes.
going down, 912 St. Charles Street here in Houston. Kyle Hubbard, who's like My
Hey,
man, my
he's the
guy.
best. He's the best.
Kyle's one of the best people I ever met in the scene. Shout out to
Dude,
Kyle, by the way.
yeah, so one thing I told him he's the rock of Houston hip hop promoting. Every time he does a show, he promotes it intensely. I noticed this back then. I was like, yo, I have to have him. If he wasn't on the show, I don't know what I would have done because he was my. I'm like, I have to have Kyle. I have to have Kyle, and he said yes automatically. I was floored. I was like we're in business. Like I couldn't do it without him. He's a great guy, a great promoter. He was down to do it immediately. He came all the way from Arkansas. Shout out to Kyle Hubbard, man. Thank you so much. You
You
did
know,
us a solid.
Kyle was one of the guys who I would listen to who would give me those I'm a quit lines, right?
Yeah,
Like the face melters. He had a
yeah.
record one time, I think it was called It's Making Sense.
I remember that video.
You
I remember.
remember that video? And he
Yeah.
started with, I saw a fool I went to school with on the corner with the sign. I could spare a couple dollars, but can't look him in his eyes. I sped
Uh,
away before he noticed me. I tried to justify saying he was never close to me. That's true, but that ain't making sleeping any easier. And I'm like, oh damn, like he's just taking me on a story. Kyle was
Storytellers,
dope, yo.
man, storytellers, and those his way of emceeing is just as valid. Like I would say, I have stories in my raps, but definitely I'm punchline heavy.
Sure.
Face melter. You can also melt a face with a story.
Mhm.
It's gonna hit just as hard. If you get a good storyteller, a Slick Rick, a Snoop Dogg, you can put them in that box. Then you got like your line heavy, your J. Cole, two different guys going on the same path. Those guys are needed in hip hop. Those guys
Oh,
are needed.
100%.
Yeah.
Dirty Nasty, George Young, and B-Boy. It's nice.
Mhm.
It's also to see B-Boy Craig out there, man, and DJ by Flat Pat.
Yeah.
Okay, we can wrap on this because I want to ask you this.
Okay.
What's next? Or is this the swan song? Like, is this the, you know what? I put something out that I'm happy about. I'm going to perform it in front of an audience in my hometown with people who I came up with. I'm good with this. I don't need any more.
So I'm okay with where things are right now. Like I'm happy, I'm content. I don't need to prove anything. I've done it. I've been blessed to do a lot of cool things, man. Like, and God bless me with my daughter, who I feel like she's on her way. She's a model, a performer. She can rap. Like, she's fearless. She inspires me. She has inspired me this entire time. She inspires me to pour all my energy into her. That's what's next. I'm so excited. I'm I'm cool with what I'm doing. I'm happy. I get to do things on my terms, the way I want to. I did it. Whatever happens, happens. I'm so excited for my daughter. I can't even. I'll jump out of this chair right now. She's amazing. I'm excited to get her going. Follow her every step of the way, and get the next generation going. And if she tells me how I want to do it, cool. But she's so like I give her something, I'll write down something for her. She has it memorized in minutes. Like, hey dad, I got it. Let's practice it. I'm like, she's better than me. Like my job as a parent is already done. She's better than me.
That's so awesome, man. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations to you on the project and the show. I can't wait to see it there in person and feel the music. I hope everybody listening and watching will join us out there on December the 16th. I'll put all
Yes,
the information
sir.
out on my social media as well. And
Mhm.
D, where can people contact you if they want to get in contact with you?
Then get me through Instagram, the Mighty D-Risha, Facebook, D-RSHA. And my music is on all streaming platforms. We got the single, Robert Horry and Mechanics. It's on. Like, let's go. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, man. It's been a pleasure talking with you. I can't wait to see you on the 16th, man. We're going to have a good time.
Man, yes, man. That's 2 days after my birthday, so I'm going to be
Let's
bringing it
go.
in,
That's a
man. And
birthday celebration. Let's
I
go.
I appreciate it, brother. It was great to see you. Great to
Yeah.
talk to you. I can't
Yes,
wait
sir.
to give you dap in person and congratulate you, in the flesh on a great project and what's going to
Yeah.
be a great show. The Mighty D-Risha,
Let's go,
everybody. D,
baby.
thanks so much, man.
Thank you, man.
Hurry up, tape running out.